Hello and welcome to a playlist where we're going to go through all the LeetCode 75 questions from LeetCode and answer them one at a time. So stick around and hope you enjoy. First, let's solve the first question, where we need to merge strings alternately. So notice in this first example, what we're doing is we're taking the first character from the first word, then the first character from the second, then the second character from the first, and the second character from the second, so on and so forth until we're done. And it essentially kind of looks like a zipper pattern going on here. But I'm not going to say zipper or zip because that's another Python function that we don't need to worry about in this. So I don't want to confuse you. But it kind of looks like a zipper pattern, and that's the last time I'll say it. But the issue becomes, well, what happens if there's a mismatch in the length of characters? That's going to be kind of the tricky part of this question. Is notice that what we do is if we run out of characters from one of the words, we just continue grabbing onto the rest of the characters from the other without worrying about like filling it with something. So here we take A and then P and then B and then Q, and then there's nothing else to take, so we just take the R and the S and we're done. Okay, so that's the thing to watch out for that we'll have to spend some extra time figuring out, but let's go ahead and code up an answer. So we're going to start with an empty string, and then we're going to essentially note how long word 1 was. We're going to note how long word 2 was. All right, now from there, how long word 2 was. From there, we just need one for loop, which might be kind of surprising because there's two strings to go through. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to loop through just once, but we're going to base that on the maximum amount of characters there were. Now, from there, what I would like to do is I would like to say my answer can have added onto it, well, the character from word 1 at index I, or the current index, and then afterwards I want to add on the character from word 2 at the same index so that I have the from word 1, from word 2, from word 1, from word 2 alternating order. That's actually taken care of right there in the loop because I first take from word 1 and then I take from word 2. At that point, I'd like to just return my answer and I'm done. Although this code is not going to currently work because we haven't addressed the mismatch in the indexes. Because if I take the max index, like let's say there were 4 characters from the longest word and the other one only had 2, then this code would definitely crash because I would start getting index errors because once I try to get to index 3, I've run out of indexes to go to from one of my words if they were like mismatched. So how do we fix that? Well, it's actually really simple. We just say if the current index I want is less than the length of the first word, then I can append onto my answer and grab from the first word because I know it's a valid index. Now also, same thing for the second word. If I haven't reached the length of the second word, then I know there's a valid character to grab onto. Now we have some working code, but what I have found is this code is a little bit slow, and that's actually because it gets a little bit expensive time-wise to add on to a string over and over again. So a better approach to this, although this does totally work, is to start off with an empty list, which feels weird because you might think, hey, if I'm starting off with strings and I want to end with a string, why not just keep everything a string? But you'll see that this does run faster. So let's start with a list, and now instead of plus equaling, we can dot append. Essentially, it's just that it's easier for lists to have things appended onto them than it is to have strings added onto them because you're technically creating a new string every time, but here we still have the same list every time. Now, that means right now I'd be returning a list, which I don't want to do, and there's one quick Python trick to turn a list of strings back into an entire string, and it's, hey, take an empty string and join it with everything inside of my list. Now that works. Now I can submit. And now we have some very fast code as well as some kind of clean and simple code. So if you try it again with the string approach, you might get some fast run times from the luck of the draw, but this one always works a lot faster because it's always super, super quick to append to a list rather than add on to continually a string. So that's one little trick to know there that might help you out with some fast solutions in the future. All right, hope you got something out of this first video, and I'll see you in the next.